Hey everybody, welcome back to Cool's Book Reviews. This week, to tie in with the holiday season, I've chosen Haunted Christmas, Yuletide Ghosts and Other Spooky Holiday Happenings by Mary Beth Crain. So at the top you can see the title here, Haunted Christmas. You can see Haunted a few different times, at least 2 or 3 times above it as well, and it just kind of gives it that weird ghostly feel. Now right here you also have the secondary portion, Yuletide Ghosts and Other Spooky Holiday Happenings. And below, you got Mary Beth Crain, as well as, again, that kind of spooky feel with the name as well. Now, the picture on the cover itself is something we've probably seen a lot. Ornaments on Christmas trees. You got the tree, you got the lights here. You even got these nice ornaments, but within the ornaments, you got 2 spooky faces, which, at least to me, makes me think of Scream. I don't know if that's what was used or something related to Scream, like Ghostface, but, I mean, it definitely looks like it. That's just something I noticed, as well as Sam when he saw the cover. On the side you get Crane, Haunted Christmas, and then GPP. On the back you get that weird font effect again with Haunted. And then you get that brief description as well as a couple different stories, as in with the Death Coach of Christmas, Haunted Bethlehem, and then again with the author Mary Beth Crain. Here you see some more Christmas ornaments and ribbon and stuff. No ghost face on the back, and then right there is your ISBN. Now this book clocks in at 193 pages, all of which are just text. There's no pictures or anything throughout this one, just text of different stories or happenings of spooky events around Christmas time. Now I actually got this book from one of our friends, Scott Creeksize, who's been on the channel before. I'm sure you would recognize him. And I've actually been meaning to read this one before for a different episode of Cool's Book Reviews. In fact, if you've been following my Goodreads, you've seen that I've at least had this one listed under reading since before last Christmas. And that's because, last Christmas I had this one on docket. I really thought this one was going to be a book review last year. And then just with all the doctor appointments and work was just really busy, time slipped out of my hands and I just wasn't able to keep up reading different books. So this year, I knew right away one of the books I wanted to read for Christmas time was Haunted Christmas, because obviously it deals with the Christmas season as well as that paranormal aspect that our channel does do. And so I thought it was a perfect tie-in for the holiday season. Now there is quite a few different ghost stories in there, and I really don't want to spoil them for you. I will say there are some where you're probably going to be like, wow, that sounds really pretty fantastical. And then there's others that you might have heard before, i.e. the Bell Witch story, which we've actually talked about this book as well as the episode of Expedition X on the Bell Witch. So check out both those, links were above. In this book, it does kind of discuss that portion with Andrew Jackson where he rode up to deal with this ghost and he got spooked away. And as we saw in Expedition X, there's really not a lot of facts behind that story. And so, perhaps it did happen, it just wasn't documented. But at least with the documentation we have, it seems like Andrew Jackson wasn't in any of the area around, at least not with that big of a cavalry. And then there's some other ones, like the Christmas tree ship, which was actually pretty interesting to me, and because there was a source listed as far as another book, I actually went and added that on my Amazon list so I could hopefully pick it up for Christmas time next year. But then, there's some other really cool stories or just interesting ones. You know, there's some stories describing the 3 knocks of death. If you hear this around Christmas time or really any time, 3 ghostly raps, as they call it, or ghostly knocks, means somebody close to you or someone around you is going to die. Which is kind of different. We've seen that kind of morphed into just like the mocking of the Trinity, if you watch ghost shows. Usually they'll hear 3 knocks and they're not like it's the knocks of death. They're just saying it's mocking the Trinity and stuff like that. And while there are those that are spooky, like those 3 knocks or the death coach when it was approaching but you wouldn't see it, there's also some sad stories. There's a couple different times where young children pass away. And it really hit me. It was actually quite a sad read for me. It unfortunately was at a time where there was a lot of death during childhood due to different diseases. In some cases, like the book said, like TB, or even the whooping cough. And then there's the stories that remind me personally of stories that we've experienced. There was a story in here where the lady had seen her grandma and her grandma was young and not sick anymore. And to me, that brought back a story I think I've at least talked about a few times on here, and we'll have to bring the story of my yaya discussing it from our old channel to this one at some point soon. But it was when my dad had seen his papu, and he, talked about how his papu was young and his clothes were so shiny and sparkled like diamonds, and he had just come to say goodbye. And there's other experiences that people have had, with my great grandma and stuff. So those ones I definitely could relate to. And then there's like the sound of somebody walking and following this person, and it reminded me of Preston's story that we talked about previously on the channel. He had felt followed, and then he had his experience, which you can check out above. But yeah, that one just reminded me of it. So like I said, perhaps some of these stories might seem far-fetched to some of you, or perhaps none of them will. All I can say is at least it was a pretty entertaining read. I would rate it about 6 to 7 out of 10. Being the time of year and what channel we are, I would recommend it. There's not a lot of cool Christmassy just collections where they've combined different stories of Christmas time. Now, do all of them happen on Christmas Day? No. Some of them do happen on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, after Christmas, or just the Christmas season. So if your book has to just deal with Christmas Day, I guess this one's not for you, but I do recommend it. It was fun, especially, like I said, for the time of year. And at the end of the day, it should at least help you feel a little bit of magic going into the Christmas season. Like I've said, I've related to some of these stories, and I'm sure some of you, if you've read this, might have related to them. And at the end of the day, if so many people are experiencing it, it must mean that something's happening. And so perhaps there's just a little bit of magic left that we haven't figured out. But at least we can know this holiday season our loved ones from beyond the grave are still watching over us. But stay tuned, this week we'll have a little bit more themed Christmas episodes, and we can't wait to share them with you. But if you want to see more cool, click that link to your left. If you want to see more about what we're doing here at Cool's Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, have you ever had a paranormal experience around the Christmas season?